Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for telling my nibling's former stepmother she has no reason to contact me anymore? 10 years ago I lost my sister. She had 2 kids, Elodie, 15 female, and Luca, 13 male, who were only 5 and 3 at the time of her passing. Her husband Mike met Susan about 3 years later. They were together for 2 years, had 2 kids, and were very newly married when he passed away. When Mike died, the kids wanted to stay with my parents and my parents wanted custody of the kids, but Susan wanted to keep and adopt them. A court battle ensued. Before the court case was finished, I retained temporary custody of them. The judge named my parents as the legal guardians, and suggested they try to keep them in touch with their younger half-siblings. Susan made that difficult. She was a struggling single mom and would expect my family to provide for her kids when they would see my niblings. When they wouldn't, she prevented them from meeting and so contact was very limited. Except she stopped communication with my parents years ago now, but she will still reach out to me, she will still make a fuss about us stealing her kids, and how we denied them a parent by taking them from her. More recently, she started asking me to bring them to her upcoming 40th birthday party. I started to ignore her and she got more persistent. I told her to stop and to speak to my parents. She ignored me, so I told her that she had no reason to contact me anymore, that my niblings were not her children, she was not in their lives anymore, and she needed to either let it go, or speak to my niblings' actual custodial relatives. This apparently was so nasty to say because not only did she react to what I sent her, but Mike's parents said I was too harsh, and that she was still their family as their siblings' mom, and it was such a shame the kids didn't grow to love and appreciate Susan in that length of time, but it doesn't mean I should crap on her when she still cares so much. I fired back that she can't care too much when she stopped her kids from seeing them because we didn't give them gifts. They had no real answer for that, because even they weren't allowed to facilitate access. I do wonder if I should have been less harsh though. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, because it sounds like she would have no reason to contact you at all. If she wants to keep all the siblings in contact, she should go through the dad's parents, since the dad is their connection. Poor kids. I hope they have adjusted well, that is a lot to go through. Exactly. The kids should be getting together at Mike's parents. OP's parents should not be expected to take this on since Mike's parents are in the picture. Not the a-hole, because like you've made it clear to her, it's not up to you on whether she gets to see the kids. She messed up and is just trying to get you to side with her so she can throw it back on your parents. Exactly, not the a-hole. Good thing she didn't get the kids since she could barely afford the 2 she had. It sounds more like she wanted them to get financial help from OP's side of the family. But no custody, no help. Not the a-hole. This woman needs to get a grip. She sued for custody and lost. Years later, it's high time she got on with it and moved on. Something actions have consequences. Not the a-hole. She showed true colors when everyone would bend to her will, do what she wanted and pay for children they have no relation to. She has zero reason to be contacting you other than she doesn't want to deal with your parents because she hates them. She's pissy she lost a custody battle that realistically never should have taken place. Why did she need your parents to try and foot the bill? Was she bothering Mike's parents for money? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she can't make rules about what happens at my house? So my wife, 29 female, and I, 26 male, are considered the fun aunt and uncle to our nieces and nephews, 12 female, 11 male, 9 male, 7 female, and 3 male. These are from my wife's side of the family. We do activities with kids and play with them unlike the other aunts and uncles of the family. Even though we don't have kids yet, we keep a toy chest full of toys for the kids to play with, and encourage the kids' interests. We also have craft stuff and my wife teaches educational lessons. In our house we encourage the kids to be themselves, but we follow the rules their parents set for them. Sister-in-law 1 has always had a relaxed parenting style, and the kids can be a little wild but know when they need to behave, and we are very close to her children. Sister-in-law 2 has the 3-year-old who we will call Alex, and has chosen a different approach to parenting. She is very strict and has many rules about what her child can do. The big thing is, she doesn't want the child to see anything that is considered rough or angry. Like the kids can't play cops and robbers in front of Alex. I also got the older kids some padded blow-up fighting gear and they can't use it if Alex is around. Also forget Nerf guns or shooting at creepers on Minecraft. Forget football too. I understand her concerns and we adjust accordingly when Alex is around. This last weekend, we had the family over and the older kids were playing tag and yelling at each other, and while I admit they were loud, I wouldn't say it was unreasonable. Sister-in-law too came out and says that they need to stop yelling and she doesn't want Alex to learn to yell. I told her that they were fine and sister-in-law one agreed with me. She also wants us to stop doing rough activities even when Alex isn't around, because she doesn't want him to feel left out. She also wants us to only use organic and gluten-free foods for the kids. I told her she does not dictate what we do with the other children when Alex isn't around and she cannot expect the children to just sit and be quiet. She is saying I am isolating her child and that I'm an a-hole for not treating the kids equally. I told her we follow her rules with Alex but her rules don't apply to the other children. Though a part of me knows that there are other things we could do, I hate putting restrictions on the other kids. So, am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she can't make rules for what goes on in my house? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Her rules apply only to her kid. If she wants the kid to live in Wonderland, that's her problem, and unfortunately the kid problem too when life and reality shows up. Sadly, that's her kid's problem too. This is not a normal way to raise a kid. Exactly, like what's her plan here? Hide any and all knowledge of anything that could be seen as rough or angry? That's not gonna work. Those concepts are pervasive throughout not only society, but the very nature of being human. They're going to be exposed to it anyway, short of literally imprisoning her kid. Even if she manages to successfully keep her kid completely ignorant of these things until they start school or something, they're going to be exposed to it, and they won't have any idea what's going. They'll probably freak the fuck out. Keeping your kid ignorant of extremely common basic things like this will only harm your kid. Not the a-hole. You aren't isolating Alex, she is. If she doesn't like what goes on at your house, maybe Alex should play with approved friends. Tiddlywinks is non-contact. Ooh no. Can't have tiddlywinks because it's competitive, and the poor little angel's soul might be crushed if they lose. Seriously, over-coddling a child is almost abusive, as they are not learning to operate in the real world. When fantasy land and the real world collide, it's brutal, and shielding a child from reality opens them to future bullying or exploitation. Not the a-hole. I get the football and Nerf guns, but you respect all that. What I don't get, the yelling, snacks, and tag. What does she think will happen when the kid gets to daycare, preschool, or kindergarten? That kids won't be loud or play tag? That all kids will eat the same snacks? That kids will never be a little hectic and crazy? Her not wanting her kid to learn to yell, or in my opinion, be a kid, is weird. If Alex is a quiet child, that's perfectly fine. But doesn't sound like Alex will get a choice. You are respecting her rules when Alex is around, but you do not have to ruin the fun for the other kiddos, especially because their parents are for those gasp loud activities. I don't get the football and Nerf guns. The mom is obviously a bit nutty. Kids, especially boys, like playing loud, sometimes aggressive games. As long as it isn't actively unsafe, let them burn off the energy. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take our niece on vacation in 2022? My husband and I do not have kids, but many nieces/nephews. A number of years ago, when we were late 20s and finally financially secure, our oldest niece was in senior year of high school and we decided to take her on a beach vacation for a week. This has since become a tradition where we take the nibbling on a vacation during their senior year. Since this began, there has always been one nibbling each year. Then in 2020 to 2023 there are no nibblings graduating high school, so we won't be taking one on vacation until 2024. We've always made it clear it's a senior trip and not us just working our way through them. We intentionally want to do it this way, as we do not want to travel with younger teenagers/children. They are 17 or 18 when we take them, which means we can give them their own room. We keep a key, and do adjoining rooms, but that gives all of us privacy. They can do more excursions, and we can meet them for breakfast, or leave them unsupervised if we want to get a drink/snack. We don't need to actively monitor them by water, and it's so much easier to airport travel with 17 or 18. A couple weeks ago, our sister-in-law said Jess was looking forward to planning her trip with us. Jess is next in line, currently in grade 9. Husband said she's rather eager since her trip is 2024, but so great she's excited. Sister-in-law gave us death glares, and I asked if we had misaged her, and sister-in-law said no. Jess is grade 9 but assumed she would be going in 2022 since she's next in line. Sister-in-law had ordered her travel books to help her plan, which we found odd, as we involve the nibbling in the planning, but we give them limited choices and they don't get a carte blanche. We usually give them a choice of 3 locations, then from there a choice of resort. We told her that the trip is for senior year, so she needs to wait until 2024. Sister-in-law was angry, and Jess has had a hard time with pandemic, so we offered to fly her out to visit us for a week. We live in a major city, for a change of scenery, but the major trip isn't until 2024. Sister-in-law is furious, though Jess is disappointed but seems to get it. The older niblings are on our side and said it was a fun thing for them in senior year, while other adults are conflicted, with some thinking we should just go through the list, taking one nibbling a year, regardless of age. We are not parents, so maybe we aren't as empathetic as we should be, so are we the a-holes for wanting to wait until our niblings are in senior year to take them on vacation? Edit. The first child we did this for was Jess's older half-sister. Their biological dad, husband's brother, was widowed and had our oldest niece, then remarried to Jess's mother and had Jess and 2 more kids. This might be a factor in sister-in-law's reaction, I have no idea. We have talked to Jess directly. She is not upset. She was disappointed that her big trip wasn't next year but understood the purpose of the trip. We've given her some location ideas as her mother had suggestions that are the opposite side of the world. Now for the comments. It sounds like you made it pretty clear that it's a senior trip. Not the a-hole, and how entitled is sister-in-law thinking she gets to complain about when you're taking her kid on an all-expenses-paid vacation? I mean, it sounds like the entirety of the problem is the sister-in-law. Kid was misled to believe it would happen next year, now understands it won't and is okay with it. Sister-in-law is the only person throwing a fit, and the only a-hole. Not the a-hole. Looks like sister-in-law is the real child here. Holy crap, yes. My husband just video called his brother and sister-in-law was in the room, saw it was husband, rolled her eyes, and then left the room. Not the a-hole. Your trip, your rules. Your sister-in-law shouldn't be horning in on the planning. Not the a-hole. I think what you guys are doing for your niblings is so beyond generous and so amazing. Sister-in-law is an a-hole for telling her child otherwise. You have made it clear from the start. She didn't even talk to you about it first. She just bought travel books and is telling her child to pick a place? That's entitlement. I would tell her to stop, or you're just going to stop the tradition. If anyone ruins it, it's going to be her. Picking up brochures threw my husband off. We've always tried to keep them fair. We usually pick places that are meaningful to the nibbling. So the first year we took the niece to St. Martin, Dutch side, as her biological mother, deceased, was Dutch and had traveled there, so thought it would be meaningful for the niece to go a place where her mother had walked, and get in touch a bit with her Dutch heritage. We took a nephew to Hawaii because he was a major history student and longed to see Pearl Harbor. Well, sister-in-law gave niece books about Fiji, Tahiti, Bali, Bora Bora, places that are beyond what we've ever done. So not only is she getting her hopes about going in 2022, but also the location she's telling her, while we could afford it, we want to keep the trips fair. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting upset at my brother and sister-in-law after they announced publicly, without telling me before, that they were naming their daughter the same name as the child I lost at 38 weeks pregnant? In January I, 25 female, and my husband, 36 male, lost our daughter when I was 38 weeks along. It was a totally healthy pregnancy until I went into labor and she didn't make it. Her name was going to be Isabella Rose. I'm not one of those people who claim a name. My sister-in-law, 28 female, told me how much she loved the name Isabella when we first announced it, and joked around that she was sad her and my brother couldn't use it for their future children. We found out she was pregnant right around the time I lost my Isabella. It was hard at first, but I'm so happy for my sister-in-law and brother, 32 male, and I'm truly so happy that our family is going to have a little baby to mush over, and I can't wait to spoil the crap out of my little niece. This morning though, my sister-in-law made the official announcement she's having a girl, which I already knew, and also that her name is going to be Isabella Rose, which I did not know. They say they're doing it to honor my baby's memory. Which I think is great, but I found out over Facebook. Just like everyone else. I feel like this is something they should have consulted me with first. Because the truth is, even though I think it's sweet, I also wish they wouldn't. A middle name maybe? Or something like that. Maybe this is petty and childish of me because, like I said, I've never been one to claim a name, but this name is now so personal to me. My husband and I talk to our Isabella Rose every day. I'm in therapy, but I'm not over losing her yet. And I know that's not my sister-in-law or brother's issue, but isn't it something they should have consulted me about first? Finding out over social media really hurts, especially since the name is supposed to be honoring my child. But I also know I'm still pretty deep in the grieving process, so I don't know if I'm being irrational or not. Am I the a-hole? Should I just thank them for honoring my kid and move on? I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry that your sister-in-law and brother are such insensitive jerks. They are being incredibly cruel and are using the excuse of honoring your daughter to be selfish. If Isabella Rose was honestly the only name in the whole world they wanted, unlikely but not impossible I suppose, then the very least they could have done is sit down with you privately to discuss it. Them announcing publicly is a tactic designed to make you feel unable to speak up and voice your discomfort. If you feel able to perhaps talk with your therapist about scripts for discussing this with them, it might be easier to write them a letter so you don't have to have this conversation in person. You are 100% not the a-hole. Exactly. Or send them a link to this post in the above comment. Sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. Not at all. This is cruel and thoughtless behavior, and I don't believe for a second they meant to honor your daughter. If they had, they would have asked if it would feel like an honor to you, privately, before deciding, instead of just announcing it on Facebook to make it harder for you to object. Feel free to approach them gently as if they meant well when you tell them it will harm and not help you, but I fully expect their response will be gaslighting and petulant, which will confirm that this was never about honoring you. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm petty. I would reply to their post on Facebook, I was so surprised to see this here. I had no idea you were thinking of offering to honor my deceased daughter by using both of her given names. It's going to take quite a bit of getting used to, as I still address my Isabella Rose by name when I think about her. We'll let you know how the adjustment goes, and leave it at that. I like this passive viciousness. The only thing more brutal would be, please do not name your child after the child in birth I lost less than 8 months ago. I'm still grieving my daughter and I understand you meant to honor her, but I really wish you'd asked me or at least told me first, and that's so painfully blunt that honestly if I were in OP's situation, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's just too much to bear. Not the a-hole. If they asked you and said, hey, can we name our child this to honor you? That would have been fine and dandy because they asked permission, but they didn't. They had no consent and have no idea how rude and disrespectful it is when they knew, so it wasn't some accidental having the same name because they knew. And they used the excuse of your child's name for their actions when they didn't even confront you. And they had the freaking nerve to post it on social media. I am so sorry OP, they had no right to do that. And I'm sorry for your loss. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.